Oh. Hey, welcome back, man. What the hell? What happened? You read Bleach Chapter 540. Few have remained sane after reading Bleach Chapter 540. Yeah, that's great, but I wasn't really talking about that. I was more talking about the fact that, you're alive! Yeah, I'm alive. So what? You're a vanilla. You don't see me bringing that up. Huh. So I am. Oh, okay. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. You okay, man? Oh, yeah, I'll be fine. I just, had a terrible nightmare. Okay, well, that's good, because I got a present for you. Oh, cool. What is it? A new Bleach chapter! Don't mean to rain on your parade or anything, but, I did just suffer massive head trauma, so... You really think this is what I should be doing right now? Are you kidding? Everyone knows you have to suffer at least 3 concussions to go to the hospital. You'll be fine. Okay, you're the smart one, I guess. Okay, I'll get on that. What are you gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna go work on a little project. So you gonna be good then? You gonna be cool? Alright, cool. Call me if you need anything. See ya. I'm out. God, I have so many questions right now. Ah, man, that hit the spot. Okay, so, Bleach chapter number 541. Chapter starts off with Ichigo vaguely remembering the memories of when he first encountered Juha Bach back in chapter 512, 513, I believe. And he brings up the fact that at the time he kind of thought it was weird that he was able to not only just find Juha Bach, because out of the entire Seirite, and no matter, you know, because Ichigo sucks at sensing Ryatsu, he was able just to locate him almost immediately after seeing Byakuya. And honestly, it's something that, you know... At the moment, I didn't really think about it because that scene was really badass where, you know, he sees that Byakuya and he has that really cool expression on his face, like he's pissed off, and then he just appears in front of Juha Bach. I just assumed there was like a time skip there, like the time when Ichigo left Byakuya to the time he went to Juha. I didn't think that was like immediately after. I thought it was like a couple of minutes later where Ichigo found out his location from somebody. Didn't really think much of it. And the fact that Ichigo even questions the fact of why did I know that this was the main enemy, which I mean, I guess he kind of had an idea, but then again, he did actually ask Juha, are you the main enemy? And that was that really cool scene and everything. But I guess it's a situation where he's just finding out that pretty much the whole basis of what he thought was his powers was a lie, and he's just questioning everything now. He's like, wait a second, if Juha Bach is really, if Zangetsu's really Juha Bach, then what about this time and this time and this time? Oh, crap. So, yeah, he remembers the fact that when he showed up in front of Juha, he did think it reminded him of Zangetsu, but once again, it was something he just kind of shoved down to the bottom of his mind. He didn't really think about it at the moment, because at the moment, it's just, this is the guy that killed all of his friends and, like, blew up the freaking Soul Society, and only, like, at the time, he thought killed Byakuya, so he didn't really think, probably like, it didn't think all the trauma of the situation, he just kind of removed that thought of what he looked like. This leads into what I consider to be the highlight of the chapter, Ichigo's "the fuck face?" I love that expression. It basically just shows everything, like, everything that you worked for is a lie and your mind is crumbling slowly. We've seen this expression on Ichigo before when he was fighting against Ginjo, everything going on with the Quincy's, and found out like when he was fighting against Juha, he had a really cool face on his expression. This is just like a fundamental aspect of his powers he believed to be true for years at this point, and he just found out it was a lie. It's great. Someone needs to make this into a meme. Here, I'll get started. I hate Honey Boo Boo. Alright, so moving on. We get the title page, The Blade and Me Too, and then we cut back over to Ichigo in his inner world where the rain starts pouring, which, of course, the rain is representation of Ichigo's, you know, wavering thoughts or his resolve getting broken, which at the moment, I believe, would, of course, happen. So, the rain added is certainly a reflection, because this is a reflection of Ichigo's own personality and own mind, so pretty good that Kubo remembered to throw that in there, because, of course, it would not be, you know, very stable in this kind of situation right now, despite the fact of all the other bombshells he learned in the past couple of chapters. That, you know, secret about his mom, secret about, you know, the Ishida family, the Quincy thing, he has a hollow inside of him, freaking his dad was captain of Squad 10, and along with all this, Zangetsu is not really Zangetsu, so I think there'd be a little bit of drizzle. What does this mean, Zangetsu? Okay, Ichigo, just calm down, bro, and listen up. This inner world represents what you think, so if you're not careful and calm down here, we could all die. But, I don't know, are you really Zangetsu? I don't really know. Okay, well, you see, I'm sort of not Zangetsu. This is what I'm talking about. You seriously need to take a chill pill right now. Ichigo delves more deeper into the questions, asking him if Zangetsu is truly Juha Bach or if it's his enemy. He responds in a sort of vague way. He states that I am and I am not Juha Bach. He doesn't go into more detail than this, but I'm essentially thinking that because Juha Bach was the one Quincy. He was the father of all Quincy's, and all Quincy's sprang from him. Where Juha Bach himself came from, I've heard a couple theories. I heard the most prominent one was he was like a Shinigami 1,000 years ago, and then through some kind of genetic modification or something, he was created by the Soul Society to be a Quincy. Because the way this is looking out, it's not like the Quincy's were something that just always existed. They started with Juha Bach. So what about Juha Bach made him so special? So, you know, maybe something the Soul Society did to him, which I'm having major Bound flashbacks right there. And if that happens, my God, I would have so much to talk about in my freaking Bound videos. That would be hilarious. But, I think the reason he's saying he is and he isn't Juha Bach is because he is in the sense that he is a Quincy, and all Quincy's are essentially children of Juha Bach, as well as taking his image, because of course, you know, what other image would his Quincy powers personify except for the god of the Quincy's 1,000 years ago anyway. So, I'm not thinking of him as, I'm gonna call him like pseudo Zangetsu or false Zangetsu. I'm not considering him Juha Bach in the sense that, you know, he's in Ichigo's soul and he's gonna try to kill him. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later. I think he's still a part of Ichigo's powers, and he, you know, trusts Ichigo more than he trusts Juha in the sense. It's just that he takes on his image and he inherited all his morals and memories and stuff like that, sort of. I'm gonna kind of go with that. It's a little vague. Zangetsu responded that the only lie he ever told Ichigo was the fact that his name was Zangetsu when it was not. Everything about the Shinigami powers he in fact took from his hollow self and passed them on to Ichigo. And I freaking called that shit! Go to the video! I think in that situation, the young Juha Bach, you know, maybe took the powers from the real Zangetsu, which could be Hollow Ichigo, it probably is a Hollow Ichigo, and then gave them to Ichigo and passed them off as, like, those were my powers that I'm giving you, and those are actually Ichigo's Shinigami powers, but they're not as toned or they're not as good as they would be if he just tapped into his powers directly. It was kind of just like, you know, he's getting them through a third-party source, when if he was just tapping into them directly, he would have more power. You know what? I love it when everything goes my way. Yeah. He also even goes on to better explain the fact that whenever Ichigo was in serious danger, like when he was on the brink of death, it was never false Zangetsu that came to his aid. It was always Hollow Ichigo, or, you know, his true Zanpakuto powers. Which makes sense, of course. I mean, I always kind of wondered about that. I mean, whenever Ichigo was on the brink of death, like Ukiura, Grimmjow, freaking Byakuya, even in a sense, we never really saw Zangetsu show up, except that one time when he was fighting against Kenpachi, which... Oh, well, even in that fight, it was really kind of Hollow Ichigo's powers at the end, because when he used that final Getsuga Tensho, not Getsuga Tensho, but when his spirit powers manifested in his fight against Kenpachi, they manifested in the shape of his Hollow Mask. So even in that fight, you could say his Hollow powers came to him. But in that situation, it would be something you'd think that false Zangetsu at the time being Ichigo's, you know, he thought it was his true Zanpakuto, you think he would show up at that sense, like, oh man, Ichigo, you're gonna die here, but it was never Zangetsu, never false Zangetsu. Sorry for confusing you guys, I can't really think of anything else to call him. I could call him Juha Bach, but that would even be more confusing, so, you know. But, pretty much just restating stuff that we've already discussed, because in the past week, there have been so many freaking analysis videos. I mean, I made a follow-up vid about this. I never make follow-up vids, so yeah, like the entire Bleach community pretty much targeted every single possible angle this could possibly come from, and we expected to nail it at least some point. People were coming up with some pretty crazy, explanations, but this one so far is relatively close to the one I came up with, so that's pretty cool. However, as False Zangetsu goes on to say, although he did try to help Ichigo get stronger, at the same time he's still a Quincy, so he doesn't like Shinigami, or Shinigami, or is more like, doesn't like is not a good term, more like polar opposites, like magnetic forces. They're just drawn to be opposites and the antithesis of each other. So therefore, False Zangetsu, which personifies that power of a Quincy, would not want Ichigo to become a Shinigami, and that's why he tried to suppress Ichigo's true Shinigami power. However, he wasn't able to suppress it the whole way, and the kind of stuff that billowed out resulted in, Ichigo's Shikai and Bankai. So kind of look at it like this. Ichigo's Shinigami powers is basically in a cup, and it's water. And eventually the water's going to overflow, but False Zangetsu managed to suppress it, but a little more managed to seep out, maybe because Ichigo just has that much Shinigami power within him. And False Zangetsu took that power that was spilling out and just gave it to Ichigo, passing it off as his own power, and said, here's your Shinigami power, here's your Shikai and your Bankai, which would mean that his Shikai and Bankai is not even close to being at full power, probably not even half power, and yet we've known multiple times throughout the series of just how strong Ichigo is. So does that mean he's going to increase exponentially stronger? That's something that's incredibly, that's incomprehensible how strong Ichigo's full potential really is. So this is a major bombshell right here. He even goes on to say that his whole purpose was to eventually kill Ichigo with his own hands. He then materializes a news story that we haven't seen before out of nothing, and it looks kind of like, I guess it's made out of Reiatsu. I mean, it kind of looks like it's made out of flames, but probably like made out of Reiatsu. It's kind of hard with the coloring. And it looks like he's about to attack Ichigo with it, but then instead he states that although he was originally supposed to kill him, throughout all the stuff he's been with Ichigo, all those times when he's almost died and he's gone stronger in his resolve and his desire to protect his friends, after all that time, he eventually, even like, I guess he got to False Zangetsu's heart. He touched upon his little heart, and he's like, man, you know what? I'm supposed to kill you, but man, we're bros. So yeah, he decides not to kill Ichigo anymore, and instead is actually very happy and stepping aside to allow Ichigo's true Shinigami powers to take over. So the whole purpose of his being is to prevent Ichigo from being a Shinigami. That's another thing I assume, like he has some other kind of hidden agenda, which would be to suppress Ichigo's Shinigami powers. But even that, now that, he's seen what Ichigo's become, he's perfectly happy with just letting that happen. So whatever, right? He even manages to crack a smile, which is really interesting because we've never really seen him as the smiling type. False Zangetsu eventually fades away before Ichigo, leaving nothing but the sword behind him. He restates the fact that Ichigo's power is actually only a fraction of what it's fully capable of, and then he materializes a little figure of himself inside of the sword? What the hell? Anyway, he states that take this sword with him because this is his true Zanpakuto. Zangetsu, which then envelops Ichigo in a bright flash and ends the chapter. Okay, so whatever. Originally I assumed like this was going to be an explanation chapter, an exposition chapter, which it was in a sense, and it wasn't. We really got to see, like I said, we haven't seen Zangetsu. Like I said, we haven't really seen this Zangetsu in a very long time, so I was concerned they might go on like on a very long explanation exactly why he's there, what happened, and he doesn't really go into detail exactly, the deal with like what's the real secret behind Juhabak or something. Some people thought he was gonna do that. More, it's just an explanation of why he did what he did, how he did what he did, and how he's kind of bridged everything. I really would have wished if Kubo did a little bit more parallels to exactly like points in the story. Like I know at one point he said, the real people that came to your aid when you were in danger was not me, it was your hollow powers, which is your true Zanpakuto powers, and we had a little clips from that. But like I said, the community has done so much investigation on this stuff in the past week. We have found, so many like little insignificant little pieces in the story we thought were insignificant, but were actually really important. I really would have liked if Kubo referenced a little bit more of stuff like that. If Ichigo asked, like, he's like, well, wait a minute, you taught me about Shikai and Bankai. I'm like, oh, well, that's because I just used your real Zanpakuto powers and passed them off as my own. Another thing was the actual name of his sword, which, the reason, even though, like, this was not his actual name, Zangetsu, that doesn't change the fact that Zangetsu is, in fact, his Shikai Bankai, his Zanpakuto name. It's just something else he passed off as his own. you know, I really would have found it really disconcerting if that was not his real Zanpakuto power, because that would have raised more questions. The fact that he managed to give Ichigo his power, his Shinigami power, with a different name altogether. So his true Zanpakuto is still Zangetsu, and that is his true Zanpakuto's form, I guess, which is very interesting because that form resembles more of Juha Bach's sword than anything else, when it's supposed to be his pure, it should be anything like, it shouldn't even involve Quincy's at all, Zanpakuto, his pure Shinigami power, so I don't get it. Another thing is exactly what false Zangetsu did, or like, did he kill himself, did he disappear into Ichigo's psyche forever, what's up? I don't think he's gone forever. I think he didn't say he was going to go away. He just said, I'm going to step aside for now. I think that what that means is, you know, I've been in charge of your powers for so long, and it's obviously not going to be enough. It's obviously not going to enable you to give you the power in order to surpass Juha Bach. So I'm going to step aside from now. I'm still going to be in your consciousness. I'm still going to help you out. So Ichigo's, of course, still going to have his Quincy powers and everything, but I'm not going to be the forefront of your power anymore. It's going to be what it should be, which is going to be Hollow Ichigo, which is going to be the Zanpakuto, so kind of like passing the torch. But he's still going to be around. He's still probably going to help out Ichigo. He's probably going to still have like Blue Vein and everything, and he might show up later to teach Ichigo about how to use his Quincy powers the right way and everything. So don't think he's gone forever. I think he's just kind of passing the torch to you know, Hollow Ichigo, which we're probably going to maybe see him in the next chapter when, you know, like now after Ichigo touches the sword and his true Zanpakuto power appears and tells him, you know, really what the story is and going on, and maybe why he was acting like such a berserker. My theory of that is simply that Hollow Ichigo was a Zanpakuto without an Asachi, or who wasn't awakened with an Asachi. Therefore, he would be kind of reckless, and he wouldn't be able to be in sync with Ichigo's power very well. That's why he acted like a berserker every time, or acted crazy, or kind of hated Ichigo. That's the real reason there. So, all things considered, though, it was an okay explanation chapter. I really would have wished that maybe he would have went into a little bit more detail on certain aspects, but we can kind of fill in the gaps from here, I think. Next chapter, I really hope they continue this, because even though we know a little bit now, we still need to know like the other half of the coin. We need to see Hollow Ichigo and have him explain some things to Ichigo now. You know, maybe see the actual true form of the sword, because it just kind of looks like a reishi sword in this one. I'm sure the actual one's not going to resemble. They probably have the same shape, but just more of a solid form. So really cool. I'm sure it's probably going to resemble the Zangetsu that we know of, at least a little bit, because I don't think Kubo's going to go so far as to completely revamp the entire, you know, sword design. Like, Bankai and Shikai are still going to be somewhat similar. You know, it's still going to be black or whatever, because that's just what Ichigo's powers are. He's probably still going to have Getsuga Tensho. He might learn some new abilities now, hopefully. That's another thing, too. The fact that false Zangetsu was passing off the power to Ichigo means that he was extremely limited to what he could give Ichigo. He didn't have full access to Ichigo's Shinigami powers, just what he could not suppress. So, therefore, Ichigo might have a full freaking arsenal of abilities now, because, you know, he was suppressing his powers. Like, okay, well, here's your Shikai, here's your Bankai, here's like your watered down version of your sword. Oh, you want a special ability too? Shit. Okay. Yeah. Here's Getsuga Tensho. You swing your sword and a Kamehameha happens. So yeah, have fun with that. So yeah, it would make sense why Ichigo only has one ability so far for that reason. So maybe Kubo's going to give him some more. So I'll look forward to that. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Tekking 101 signing out. Good chapter. See ya.